Welcome to this Fleet Europe webinar with the support of Samsara. And the webinar is titled How Technologically Connected Fleets Can Drive Radical Improvements in Business Efficiency and Sustainability. Indeed, you are in the right webinar to improve your business value. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to welcome two expert speakers, and we will discuss with them how IoT-based technology can bring value to stakeholders across all business activities by acting as the driving force behind improved efficiency and sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, may I welcome Martin Bain. He is Senior Director, EMEA Enterprise Sales, and Victor Gonzalez, Head of EMEA Solutions Engineering at Samsara. Gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to this webinar. I hope that you are doing well.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Stephen.
No problem. We hope that this can be resolved. Okay, good. Sorry for that technical issue. So, gentlemen, welcome. This webinar will be a little bit different to what our audience is used to be seeing with Fleet Europe. We will have a discussion together with our two experts, Martin and Victor, and based on a series of questions, but also the audience. So you, dear participants, you can be involved and you can submit your questions linked to IoT technology, to connectivity, to how to create business efficiency. Or if you have a reaction on one or the statements of my guests, you can, of course, submit your questions via this tool, and I will try to moderate the most interesting questions. So let's start. Martin, I would like to start with you. First of all, what I would like to know is, tell me a little bit about the exact impact that technology is and can make to businesses in general. I think this is really a good start for also our audience.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Stephen. And you can tell, I love the fact that you've introduced us as the expert, but you can tell which one's the technical expert, considering that any technical difficulty has been by myself. So Victor's far smarter when it comes to that. But it's a great question. And I think we're at an inflection point. And if you read a lot of what the analysts say and a lot of consulting organizations will tell you, is that as we exit out of a global pandemic and into a form of new normal, there are three tailwinds. There's digital transformation, cloud computing, and business model innovation. And what that means, so what business model innovation means, is that there's known facts that 25% of growth over the next 3 years is going to come from white space. So it's going to come from areas, new services. So all of the organizations that are on this webinar, new 25% of growth will come from new revenue streams, services and solutions and products that we don't deliver today are going to be what we deliver tomorrow. So a quarter of our growth is going to come from that. And the three of them are intrinsically linked. And again, we just need to reflect back on the global pandemic. You know, cloud computing gives us scalability. So that gives us the ability to flex up and down and respond and react to the market climate. Digital technology, so digital transformation, gives us agility. And both of those in conjunction gives us an ability to respond and react quickly to new opportunities that the market provides. So for me, I think technology is going to be absolutely critical and will have a huge impact over the short and mid-term for all organizations across all industries.
Okay, and if we deep dive into that, what you were just saying a little bit further, where are our industries? Where are our physical operations standing today? Where is the physical operations industry on its digital transformation journey? Are we on the right way?
So Samsara recently released a report around the state of operations and connected operations, so two kind of separate reports. And we surveyed over 1,500 plus operational leaders, and only 7% stated that they were at the highest level of digital maturity.
Only 7?
Yeah. So I would say, I'm no cricketer, but I think the terminology there would be that we're in the early innings. I'm more into football. I'd say that we're just at the beginning of the game. It would be probably more equivalent to me.
Okay. And what will it take to take us to the next level? What will it take to take us to winning the game?
Great question. So I think the path has already been set. If you look at it, so digital transformation is not a new phraseology. It's something that has been around for quite a while, and huge investments in, and to such an extent that it's quite saturated. But the whole world of digital transformation is focused on the world of the knowledge worker, the back office worker. So we'll have heard huge amounts of transformation from a HR processes perspective. So all your ERP processes. You will have heard transformation from a customer, from a CRM perspective. And therefore, there's been a huge investment and huge growth in companies like Salesforce, Workday, SAP, Oracle, Microsoft. Company that I came from, ServiceNow, and this is now becoming a very saturated Me Too market. What surprises me is that, and I'm sure somebody will fact check me here, but by rough order of magnitude, only 20% of the global workforce are knowledge workers that benefit from this level of transformation, but 80% are operational workers. So that is the greatest return on investment for our organizations. So the question of what will it take? It will take organizations to, for me, put the focus on the correct part of their organization to transform, which is the world of operations.
Okay. Let's then look back a little bit. Why has there been such a low uptake of technology in our business and in our sector?
Yeah, I think if I was to summarize it in one word, it's, well, two words. Let me summarize it in 2 words: complexity and risk. So I think that there's a lot of complexity in transforming the world of operations. See, the previous world that we talked about there, the back office or the customer, a lot of times you could install new technology and that immediately transformed that world. But actually in the world of operations, there's a level of complexity around, for me, technology, people, process and data. And we've got to factor in all 4 of them, because that is what's going to drive the right outcome for our organizations. And and then if you get into the next layer of complexity there's a lack of access to, or data access to, siloed systems. So there's a lot of legacy there. There's and that data, there's a breadth and diversity of data across operations. It's not as simple as the processes in the back office. There's a reliance on a lot of legacy tools and technologies, and a bit of limited in-house innovation as well. So, a lot of our people and our teams in the world of operations are so busy that they can hardly look left, right, up or down to transform, because they're so busy running the world, and that complexity of if anything happens to the world of operations, then that tends to have a serious impact on the business in general. And then, because of the complexity again in operations, you've got a lot of regulation and a lot of compliance to consider. And I think that previously we've not factored in that complexity. So there's been false dawns where we've tried to approach the transformation similar to the front and back office, when actually the world of operations requires that understanding of its landscape.
To summarize, then, do you think that businesses are perhaps too overwhelmed about some of the complexities that come with the transformation to digital technology?
Potentially. I think that I think when anybody's looking at transformation, there's a great phrase that a colleague of mine used to use where they talked about incremental benefit beats delayed perfection. And I think when we look at the world, although there's a complexity there, I think when we look at that complexity, we strive for perfection, the silver bullet, but it's how can we make incremental progress there, rather than wait to design perfection from a world of transformation. So when you're trying to design that perfection, that looks very daunting as a task and too large to take on. But when you look at the incremental benefit and look at the short term as well as the long term, that looks more digestible and more achievable.
Okay. So I can also understand that you are saying, well, it's perhaps not necessary to wait for perfection to start the digital transformation journey.
Yeah.
Do you really think that for each and every business, it can be useful to act now?
I think it's not only is it useful, but they must, in my opinion. You know, we talked about the tailwinds. You know, that's the benefit of doing with digital and the new growth areas. But actually, there are significant headwinds that we've got to factor in. You know, macro headwinds like inflation and economic growth. You've got the public health crisis. You've got humanitarian crisis, which we are seeing. You know, terrible what's happening in Ukraine. But you've also got the impact in fuel and future that goes across the globe. You've got cybersecurity risks, and you've got massive supply chain dislocations. You know, I think 83% of companies see supply chain resilience as being their number one priority now, and that's a huge shift in where we are. So these factors mean that we must act now, and by that, you know, I think that there's trends that we can see that we can benefit from.
And what are those trends more specifically?
Yeah, so for me, the trends are, first of all, you've got a trend and a tailwind of sustainability.
Yeah.
You just need to look at, I bet you anybody with sustainability in their job title is getting inundated with LinkedIn requests and offers, because there's a huge number of jobs that are being created in this space. So you can see that there's a huge pivot there. There's every single organization that I'm speaking to and across the board are looking at efficiencies. So some of what we talked about there's organizations that are looking more at profitability and cash flow like ever before. So although people think, oh, well, we can't take on projects, actually projects that release cash flow and profitability and reduce operational costs are hugely top of mind for any organization just now. You know, resilience in the supply chain can also be around the digital and offering of new services. The two of them are kind of intrinsically linked. I was speaking to a large global company with 120,000 assets, and they're PE backed, and they were talking about the desire to be digital from a resilience perspective, but also from attractive for the sale of the organization or further investment in the organization. So most organizations were looking at digital, and then you've got a labor shortage, which actually most people are telling you is the real next problem that we've got, or real live problem that we've got today, and how do we then attract and retain talent, and that talent and these people want to be safe. working with another organization that they're looking at from a driver shortage being really critical to them. So how do they bring a new demographic in? So that how are they attracting female drivers in? And then how do they protect and make that feel secure? How do they plan and optimize routes to make sure that people aren't away for longer and have a good family life balance or work-life balance?
Okay. With all the trends that you just have summed up, do you think that sustainability has become or is going to be the number one, let's say, topic on the agenda of also corporate fleets?
Yeah, I think if we do this right, it should be across all four, because all of everything that we just discussed there, they are. If I guarantee you, for every organisation that's on this webinar and beyond, if we were to read the strategy decks or the earnings calls or the annual report for any of the organisations, every single one that I just talked about there, sustainability, digital, operational efficiency and safety is called out in every single one of them. So I think that these are areas that if you're running a fleet, you can make high impact into your organization. So they're going to be top level agendas that we can impact.
Okay. Perfect. I think it's now time also to discover a little bit more how Samsara as a company and with their technology can support all those challenges or opportunities that those businesses have in front of them. And therefore, we also have Victor Gonzalez with us. Victor, first question to you. You, of course, have thousands of customers with Samsara. You have many data points where you can track intelligence. How are your customers using your technology to overcome all the hurdles that your colleague Martin just described?
Sure. Hi, Stephen. Thank you for having me. So the low-hanging fruit for me and for all of our customers is consolidation, really. One of the first enablers for business efficiency, and not only within fleets, but really within any type of business, is the consolidation of multiple systems and applications into a single platform to help accelerate that digitization that Martin was talking about, which results in cost reduction by implication. And this resonates with pretty much every level within our customers' organizations, from the fleet managers to directors, to IT, to operations, executives, finance, and other disciplines. So our customers are using Samsara to connect their fleets and physical operations, but also consolidate these systems into a single platform that provides them everything under one roof, such as artificial intelligence, safety, telematics for fleets of vehicles and assets, fleet electrification, driver workflows, compliance, and much more.
And can your platform then also be linked, let's say, to HR and everything that is linked with employee benefits in general, payroll, etc.?
Absolutely. And whenever we build a solution, we think about APIs first. Our platform is built from the ground up to be programmable and to be able to export and ingest, or have other systems ingest data in a programmatic way, because all the systems are interlinked. So not only we provide a lot of different solutions with regards to the management of physical operations under one roof, but we also build those APIs to make sure that our customers can harvest the power of a platform and connect our platform to their broader ecosystem and help them drive innovation as well within their own products and processes.
Okay, so you're also able to tailor let's say, features and the applications within the platform towards the preferences of specific customers.
Absolutely. And it is about helping the customer wherever they are in their journey. So our platform is built in such a way that if you're getting started in the journey and you need just off-the-shelf tools to help you accelerate that digitization, we have it for you. But for more advanced customers who are already somewhere in the middle of that journey, and they have already, a lot of our customers actually, they build their own software and applications, and they just look for other technology partners to partner with to augment their own services. So if the customer is already in let's say in the middle or far ahead, certainly that's something that we can help with as well. Yeah.
Okay. And so how can these applications, because there are a series of applications that you have and that your customers can use, how can these applications drive value for the wider business stakeholders?
That's a good question. And let me give you a couple of specific examples there. So taking a step back, our customers' business values and objectives can be summarized into three areas. These are, increasing efficiency and revenue, reducing costs, and operating in a compliant, safe, and sustainable way. Now, one of our core applications is AI video-based safety, which helps customers reduce and prevent accidents and protect their people and also protect their company reputation. This helps also reduce insurance costs and premiums, which directly impacts the safety, health, environmental, and quality executives. In addition, there is a strong industry evidence and also evidence from our own customers that demonstrates that a significant reduction in fuel and maintenance is a byproduct of just operating a more safe, operating more safely your fleet and physical operations. So this has a direct impact in the bottom line income for the entire organization. So this obviously impacts every single stakeholder within the business. Another example I can give you, Stephen, is on the sustainability side. This is pretty much on every CEO's agenda, like Martin mentioned. And one massive contribution to sustainability is the fleet. So incorporating electrification and the management of electric vehicles on the same platform is key to drive these sustainability initiatives. And electrification really is a journey that starts first by identifying the fleet segments suitable for electrification, managing the charging infrastructure, and adjusting routes and jobs, and at the same time closely monitoring the impact of these changes on CO2 reporting and ESG reporting as well. So the main value that we bring here is not only providing the technology to just monitor the electric fleet, but also help the customer with the full journey end to end.
Perfect. Then I would also like to see, of course, how operations leaders should go about making a business case for connected fleets, because I think that there are still many questions in convincing stakeholders, top management about the true value of connectivity for fleet operations. So I don't know, Martin, if you can elaborate a little bit about the basics of establishing a business case.
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's a challenge that we see consistently across organizations. I'm going to quote an ex-CFO that I worked with, Mike Scarpelli, who's currently at Snowflake. He said that there's always budget. If you get a no, it's because you've not presented the most compelling business case. So that always resonates with me. And I think that what you're then asking is, how therefore do you present the most compelling business case? And the most compelling business case normally is cross-functional. So it isn't just a business case that impacts your part of the organization, it's how it impacts as much of the organization as possible. So when we talked about, and this is where I think there'll be multiple leaders, so there'll be operational leaders that are running P&Ls, there will be sustainability leaders that are accountable for sustainability goals. There will be digital leaders around digitizing the organization, and there will be safety leaders around making health and safety and making your organization safer. How do you? What you must do is you must bring all of those stakeholders together, and the business case should show the impact cross-functionally across all of those organizations. That therefore is a compelling business case, rather than just a pure FTE or fuel efficiency or ROI. It's about high and wide and across the organization is the best type of business case.
Okay, so what you are saying is that it's not enough, for example, to have a business case that can just convince the chief technology officer, because we are talking here about technology, and if you can have him or her convinced, then probably you are successful. No, that is not what you are saying here. You are saying it needs to be as large as possible with and throughout the complete organization.
100%, yeah. Multiple stakeholders that will benefit from this, and that has the weight and support of the organization. And that is then, when you think about a CFO that is approving or authorizing a spend, when they're seeing a business case that is cross-functional across all of those organizations, then from a budgeting perspective, it goes across all of those organizations, regardless of where P&L sits.
Okay. One of the stakeholders, of course, that are also important, and that often when we talk about connected fleets are coming into the picture, they are coming into the picture in those places where it's the most challenging to introduce connectivity, are, of course, working councils. What is your recommendation to convince them, or should the business case also already be addressed to them?
Yes, so I think that's a wonderful challenge, and you're exactly right as another stakeholder. So if you think about who workers' councils represent our people, the employees, and therefore they're a key stakeholder in bringing them on that journey. So before you even get to workers' councils, about how do you bring employees on the journey and engage with the workers' councils. I think a lot of times when we get adverse reactions from workers' councils, it's because things are as a surprise, or things have been brought to them without consideration or communication with them. I think when we go to them with the value proposition of what that means to their people, then that's what's going to be the difference. And that's actually the same across every part of your stakeholder. When we try to push our agenda, that's when it's met with friction. If we try to be empathetic and understand what are the initiatives and what's important to all of the stakeholders that we mentioned, including the employees and the workers' councils, and we are able to articulate the value proposition in line with those priorities and initiatives, that's where we manage to get them on board. That's where I've seen it being done successfully. When it's done with more trying to be authoritative or trying to be more sneaky with it, then that's where it tends to be met with a bit more friction.
Okay. And can you also help your customers with producing the business case?
100%. I think it's remiss of any organization that is partnering with you that they would want to do that, because I'm very mindful of the business case is the true value to the organization. It is not the acquisition of our technology. It is the outcome that our technology in partnership with the organization will deliver. And the only way to really to understand that is to prepare and support the business case. And then when you install the technology, to track and report on the successful KPIs, lead indicators, and delivery of the business case and value back into the organization. That's what's a healthy partnership. And that's what means it's not a transaction today, it's a relationship for tomorrow.
Okay. You already talked at the beginning about some trends. We are, of course, living, I think that it's probably for many of us the most uncertain time that we have ever lived in. There are so many things going on for the good and for the bad at the moment. Let's mention a few of them that are perhaps not the most positive ones for our industry at the moment, although that some businesses are making nice profits. But with the global economic and industry challenges like surging fuel prices, increased inflation, high interest rates, we have the supply chain challenges. Do you really expect a higher uptake of connected technology for businesses in the future? Because you could also say that probably many organizations are looking even more than yesterday on their budgets.
Yeah, this is where it's kind of like economics, isn't it? That you've got bulls and bears. So it's very similar in these types of times. And when you reflect back, you see organizations that have thrived in the back end of it, and you've seen other organizations that have died on the vine on the back end of it. And in relation to technology, we always talk about the bell curve. We always talk about early adopters and laggards. I think that's exactly what's going to occur now. Like we've talked at length today around headwinds and tailwinds. Headwinds that pose real threats to industries and organizations within those industries, and tailwinds that present real opportunities. Those that will seize the opportunities and mitigate the risks of the threat will be the ones that, and history tells us this, will be the ones that embrace technology, embrace the opportunity, and invest to seize that opportunity in a very sensible fashion from a business case and meeting their own company's budgetary and fiduciary requirements. The ones that don't are the ones that we'll be talking about as, remember that organization, yes, or what happened to them. That's for me is as simple as what it is, and don't need to trust my judgment on that. You just need to look back in history, and that's what it tells us.
Yeah, I can only confirm, even with the challenges that we have today in our industry, some of them we could already predict a few years ago. We already knew that sustainability, electrification was the way to go forward. We also knew that probably at one time that there could be a pandemic. Of course, not in that way that we have experienced it right now, but there were already a few things that we could have learned from history. And so I think that you are right, that being proactive and not only look at what is the situation today, but what can it be to tomorrow is also the right way in terms of defining the investments for your company. And therefore also the investment in connected technology is for sure one that is important and can bring value. Perhaps looking now into the future with Victor again. Victor, welcome. Of course, there are also a few trends, a few technology developments that we are seeing happening in the marketplace, thinking about artificial intelligence, 5G, and so on, machine learning. In what way do you think that those technologies, those new developments, will even bring bigger benefits around connected technology and fleets in the future?
Absolutely. So let me start by stating the obvious and probably what everyone on this webinar knows. Things like connected fleets, connected technology, IoT are not really that new, right? They have been around for more than a decade. But there has always been a fundamental challenge, and that is the excess of unusable data and the lack of actionable insight. And there was a comment before when you were speaking with Martin around complexity. So definitely the last thing our customers need is more reports and siloed data, or getting bombarded with alerts and notifications that at best tell you what already happened. So this is where artificial intelligence comes in, and in the context of fleets, it enables that real-time analysis of millions of data points to learn patterns, identify risks and opportunities for efficiency improvements, and provide that real-time actionable insight to both the operator and driver to be proactive in preventing events and driving outcomes. Now, the other part to your question was 5G. So 5G, the technical benefits of 5G are three primarily: more bandwidth, more capacity, and lower costs to access much higher cellular speeds. So these improvements definitely will enable more IoT devices to cost effectively connect to the cloud and make it feasible to stream real-time data and high-definition video. And obviously, this will naturally help with the adoption of connected technology because the business outcomes are more impactful at relatively lower costs.
Okay, clear. Then I have a few more questions also from the audience, and I would like to invite also the audience. If you have a question for Victor or Martin, then please submit your question via the tool. The first question is linked, of course, to the origin of your company. Can you briefly explain who is Samsara? I think that most people will now understand that you are really a global IoT technology company that can bring value not only to fleet managers, but to the complete organization. But just to stipulate in a few words, who is Samsara?
Oh, you've asked the wrong person if it's in a few words, but I'll try my best. So I heard you ask what the origin story is, and I think that's important to who we are. So our founder, when they launched an IoT connected operations platform or an IoT platform, the first IoT device was around energy monitoring. So temperature monitoring for, I think it was Cowgirl Creamery Cheese. Was the name of the first company. But the reality of what they were doing was monitoring one specific use case, which was temperature monitoring for the transportation of the cheese. But when they were partnering in the customer's premises, they could see the challenge that they had around the visibility of where the orders were, where their loads were, where the vehicles were. And that is where we started to develop our connected operations platform, solving their problems. So we work with them and other beta customers around the evolution of our problems, of their problems. That is the innovation of our company. So ultimately, we're a technology company in service of our customers' problems. So if you look at all of the innovation and all of the technology and roadmap and everything that we do, it's as a result of partnering with our customers to understand their challenges and their problems and their priorities, and then building technology and partnerships to solve those problems.
Okay. I think that the company Samsara was launched in 2015, something like that. Is that correct? Or am I wrong? I think it's around 2015 from the United States. You are now also in Europe since a few years. Why in Europe, and what is the idea or the ambition?
Yeah, it's a question. We actually went public in December 2021 there, and the process for going public is you file your S1 with the SEC. And then that gives potential investors an ability to ask you questions around your strategy, your growth, and where you're going. And 25% of the questions that the investors asked were around our growth and expansion in EMEA. So therefore, that's one of our leadership team's top priorities is our growth in EMEA. What that means for us and how we grow is that we don't grow just by throwing salespeople or partnerships, on the ground. It's cross-functional, full investment in each of our regions. So that's around how we support our customers, how our technology works, how our data residency, our compliance, it's our legal, our employment, our legal entities. It's every single, with almost thinking of customer first and reversing our way back and as to how we acquire that customer to ensure that we're set up for success across all of those regions. So yeah, we're currently expanding significantly. We're from an entity and where we are in the UK, DACH, Benelux, and France. But from within those 4 regions, we support wider across all of EMEA.
Okay. In terms of the fleets, because we have here in the audience many fleet managers, we have also big fleets. Are your services for all types of fleets? So for bigger fleets, smaller fleets, SME fleets, truck fleets, light commercial vehicles, passenger car fleets? Is it all that, or are you dedicated to specific target groups?
Is that to myself, Steve?
I can take it. So, yeah, there's no discrimination in terms of the type of fleet. Really, Stephen, we our products, the hardware that we build is compatible with any type of fleet, heavy-duty trucks, LGVs, passenger vehicles, buses, construction equipment, assets, unpowered assets, you name it. So from a spec or compatibility standard, it works with any type of fleet. Now within our own organization, we have some segments in terms of the customer size, which is determined by the size of the organization, and then there are different rules of engagement. Okay, so we have internal segments or buckets of customers, but yeah, no discrimination. If it has wheels, we can connect to it, and sometimes even if it doesn't have wheels, we can still connect. So that's the
very good. Okay, and before that, I go into the questions of the audience, but because that's very important, of course. Also, in terms of all the services that you bring onto market, is it like that the customer can choose and pick, or is it like, okay, here is the full package, and you need to take the full package?
Yeah, that's a great question. From our perspective, it's not that we have a technology, you buy it and good luck. It is very much around like, what are we trying to deliver? What is the value, and what do you require from our portfolio to be able to deliver those outcomes? So it's very much in relation to what's required to deliver the outcomes, as opposed to we have a technology, you buy that technology, and that's all and that's all we can sell you.
Okay, perfect. Questions from the audience. The first one: what are the most important services when it comes to TCO reduction in a fleet, or linked to a fleet, of course, that Samsara can provide today? So can you, probably we already discussed a few during this webinar, but what are the most important services that you can bring to the customers that can really help to decrease the total cost of ownership?
Sure, I can answer that one. So there is the element of obviously the technology, right, that we provide, but also the services and the customer care, the post-sales and implementation and customer success support. So the answer to the question is twofold. The main TCO reduction from a technological or technology perspective comes from that consolidation element that I spoke about. When you consolidate systems, right, that immediately gives you a TCO reduction or return on your investment. So that's one element. And the other element is actually what we call the time to value. Okay, once a customer partners with us, once they make a technology decision or purchasing decision, it doesn't stop there. You want to make sure that you are working in partnership with the customer to make sure that the technology gets implemented effectively. So to the point of acting now, making sure that the hardware is not sitting in boxes for months before it gets deployed. So we partner with the customer to work on that project management approach to make sure that they maximize, we install quickly, and then we work with the customer to actually get them to value as soon as possible, define their objectives, and also track progress against them, so that they get the most out of the technology. And this is something that comes as part of the offering. When customers, when they buy from Samsara, they're not buying a product, they're partnering with us. So it's not about the technology, it's about helping them get to value as quick as possible.
Okay, really good. And of course, we also already learned that through your services, you can help businesses to become more sustainable, safer, and more efficient. So this also contributes, of course, to the total cost of ownership of a vehicle fleet across multiple countries. Another question linked to one of the other issues that we are seeing in the technology space. What is your position on the growing threat of automotive cyber security that could attack fleets as they become more connected? And how does Samsara, react to that or anticipates that?
So I can start, Martin, if you wanna.
Yeah, please.
Add on top. So yeah, very, very, very good question, and a real, this is happening in the industry right now. So our position, obviously, as a technology innovator, we take cybersecurity very, very seriously. Not only within the intrinsic, element of the products that we build, but also the way we operate internally within, and the processes that we have as an organization. Some time ago, before going public, we hired a chief information security officer, a CISO, and we have an entire infrastructure of people and processes that only focus on cybersecurity. Now, on the product side, at Samsara, we own everything. We own the end-to-end life cycle of the product, from hardware to software to design. So everything that we build and all the IP is built. Everything is built in-house. So we obviously adhere to the highest standards of security and information security. All the information is available on our website, and our products are built in such a way that they are hardened and resilient, and basically that making sure that no one can hack into them, because we've seen already that in some cases hackers have managed to tap into IoT devices, and that gives them access to actually the asset that sensor is connected to. So that's something that we definitely don't want our customers to go through, and we take that very seriously as an organization.
Okay. Sorry, yes, Martin?
No, I was just going to say, it's funny how different people hear and receive the question, because Victor's answered it very specific to us and how we approach cybersecurity. How I heard the question was more that in general around fleet. And I think that there's, when you think about electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, more technology being on vehicles increases the threat landscape. And I think what we are certainly doing is we are always part of a community around partnering with OEMs on how we are always securing our customers. We do that specific to us. But I think what when we talked previously, what we also must consider as a stakeholder and the engagement should be each organization's own security officer or heads of security, because they are absolutely if you look at the future of technology in this space, it's great that it's going to transform, but it is also going to create a different threat landscape.
Okay. Does your AI enable us, the customer, to differentiate between types of distraction, like smoking, mobile phones, everything that comes into mind, playing games behind the wheel, etc., etc.? It's a very specific question.
Yeah. That's I get asked that question pretty much on a daily basis when talking to customers. Yeah. So we call that we call those events within the context of Samsara policy violations. within the AI. So within policy violations, you have different policies such as distracted driving, mobile detection, eating, and things like that. So yes, the short answer is yes. We cover that under the policy violations solution set that we offer.
Okay. One question that I think has already been answered, but I'm going to ask it because it's in our chat. Does Samsara work with software API as well, or is it only about the hardware? It's about software and API technology, yeah?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. And again, like I said, these APIs, they come with a product, so the customer can use the APIs on day zero and extract anything that they want to extract from the product without even. We have customers that don't even use our platform; they just use our equipment, and then they act via the APIs. Then they manage the fleet using their own in-house built systems. We also have hundreds of third-party integrations available on our app marketplace. If you go to samsara.com /app marketplace, you will see them all. So yeah, it's about software and API as much as the hardware. Yes.
Okay, so Samsara is also a specialist in developing partnerships, third-party partnerships, so to create even more value. Is that correct?
Can you ask that again, Stephen? Sorry.
So your company, Samsara, is not only developing services based on own intelligence, but you're also partnering with other companies so that you can create an even bigger ecosystem of services that are valuable for companies. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%, Stephen. If you think about our methodology is very much around the value and outcome. And if you look at when we talked about previously the multiple stakeholders, the multiple outcomes around sustainability, digital, operational efficiency, safety, then there's going to be other technology in that landscape. And it's absolutely critical then that there's alliances and partnerships between those technologies to cooperate and work effectively, because it's not about the silo. We talked about that being a challenge, silo technology. We don't want to create new silos. What we want to be doing is we want to create unity and a singular simplicity, and that'll only happen through cooperation. So yeah, that's done from a software layer and APIs, partnerships with OEMs, partnerships with other technology partner vendors, and partnerships with other parts of the ecosystem.
Okay. There is a final question that popped in. It's perhaps a little bit technical, so I'm going to read it. If it's too technical, then I suggest that we handle it afterwards and that we come back to the person that has asked the question. Okay?
Good luck, Victor. Good luck, Victor. This one's on you then.
Martin, I was going to kick it over to you. Okay. Thank you.
Because she deserves, of course, an answer. So, concerning your technology, concerning Samsara, do you take into account fleet connectivity with its environment? So not only linked to, let's say, the fleet connectivity as such, but also linked to local versus networked connectivity, V2X, etc. Because there can be, of course, other very valuable services linked into that bigger ecosystem and environment.
Good. Yeah, definitely. Joel, I will need to get back to you on that one because we might spend some time. But it's a really good question. And yes, we are like, yeah, there's the answer requires some a little bit of a it's a twofold response. But yeah, let me get back to you if you can,
No
Stephen,
problem.
forward me the question and the contact details, and I'll get back to Joel.
Okay, perfect. Okay, the final question from me is if these customers that are in the webinar would like to know more about your services or are interested to contact you, what do they need to do? Where do they need to go?
So happy for our details to be shared. with anybody that wants to contact us. I mean, obviously we have a website, but happy for us to connect but either on LinkedIn, via here, or anybody feel free to reach out to us. Happy for you, Stephen, and the team at Fleet Europe to share my contact details, and I'll make sure that it's routed in via our team.
Good. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you for the engaging discussion. Martin Bain, Victor Gonzalez, thank you for your insight.